ya aparecen.
Yeah.
So for the topic on this roundtable we're going to be discussing will be about artificial intelligence, since these are the new vanguard technologies that have been coming up recently, and you can notice they can have certain effects on modern day society, since most of them, what they focus on has been to simplify tasks, but others do have another focus they like attend to. So today we have our roundtable participants. Go ahead and present yourselves.
I'm Daniel Eduardo, and I'm a specialist in the field of protection of the worker, and I'm very against the use of artificial intelligence.
Well, my name is Juan Porfirio, and I'm a specialist in artificial intelligence and robotics.
I am Javier Carlos, and I am a consumer.
I am David Lozano, and I am a software engineer who specializes in applications of AI.
Okay, and my name is Fernando Hernandez. I am a specialist in literature and creative writing, and I'm partially in favor.
And I'm your host, Eugenio Garza. So here we will be discussing about the different aspects of modern day society with artificial intelligence. So would you like to begin, David, with how do you think that artificial intelligence is able to impact human society in different aspects?
Well, as per my job, I'm actually interested in the applications of this because, well, there are many fields which can benefit from artificial intelligence, such as healthcare, finance, or even robotics. Because, well, it's a way to make intelligent systems such that you don't need a human to work. And for example, the easiest way is to think about robots, in which you can automate many tasks which were previously impossible to do or very risky for humans.
Okay, so basically what you mean to say is that artificial intelligence works to like summarize somebody's job to make it simpler, a simpler task to do, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and what are the so now I'm going to transition this. Porfirio, what do you think are going to be some other aspects on the negative side of these implementations?
Well, first of all, artificial intelligence has like three fundamental risks, which is accidents, misuse, and what it's arms races. For now, the damage that they can cause is limited. But what will happen if one artificial intelligence you integrate internet inside it? And this could cause fatal accidents involving autonomous cars, for example.
Okay, that's a more recent example. I like that. So pretty much, basically, what you mean to say is based on the application, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you can have sort of like to summarize tasks and others to completely automate the task so it doesn't involve a human being like making the thing, right? So with this transition, Javier, as a consumer of this type of technologies, what have been your experiences? What have you seen about them?
Well, I believe AR, artificial intelligence, it's something quite interesting and very fascinating, let's say, because it helps us in a lot of ways that we humans have a lot of errors. But we humans learn from our mistakes faster, and AIs do it less faster, let's say. So what are the applications that I believe, like David and Porfirio said, I believe there are cons and pros in artificial intelligence. Let's say, like Porfirio said, there are crashes that AIs have happened. Well, so what will happen if, let's say, AI has controlled a train? So what will happen to the job of the train manager or the people who pilot the train? What will happen to those people? That's my question.
Yeah. So thanks for the answer. So now we transition with Eduardo. So now that Javier mentioned it, that so right the workers' rights or like workers' capacity, the workers might be affected by these new implementations. So as a specialist in protecting this type of people, in protecting these people, what do you have to say about it?
I have seen that this technology work in implementing the autonomy of some jobs, and many people think that this is a good thing, and it can be in a future, but right now with the culture that we have right now, it wouldn't be ethical because the consequences to the workers will be very massive. And this culture that we have right now in the present modern world has forced us to just simply accept the fact that okay, you're gonna lose your job, just find another specialty to do, and that is not something that we should just accept. We should just wait because we can do the technology, that the technology is advancing, but we shouldn't just implement it right away without having a plan to implement it ethically. And that is why I'm against it, because it is something that should be talked about before it being implemented, to make sure that the workers and the employees have an ethical way to use it.
So basically, adding some type of moderation to the system to these new implementations with artificial intelligence, so they don't go out of control. I forgot the actual word that's said, but basically regulate these artificial intelligences, right? That would be like one of the solutions. And also, so what are now transitioning to another topic, to another aspect. How would you feel like this artificial intelligence can be like expanded in some sort of aspect, Fernando?
Well, as a specialist in literature, I think like there is an enormous amount or room for growth, because I think like creative writing has always been something that humans are distinguished by, because there's like the main discussion that AI cannot replicate creativity. It can only like do so much. For example, with DALI or with ChatGPT, if you ask, like, can you write a book? It can write a book, but it's not. It doesn't have the creative essence of human, but it's like merely an aspect of condensation of other creative accomplishments from other people. So I think like that's the main room of growth. It's still crawling, like it's still in diapers. It's only a baby. We can say like AI is only a baby. So I think like in the opportunity that it has of growth with normal people, we can say like not for engineers, not for people like have the capacity of buying robots and like developing AI. For the public, like yeah, let's put it like that. For the public, it still has, it's still an undiscovered horizon. So I think like there's a lot of room of growth, especially in my specialization. Like we can keep discovering things. I'm partially in favor, like as I stated, because there can be some exploits, we can say, in the area of learning. We have seen it here. There are things like misuses, as they mentioned, that can undermine learning, and it definitely will change the way we educate ourselves. Because, for example, we can use it for cheating in an exam, and that is a really great downside, not only for the organizations like any school, because their students are not paying attention, but because it will eventually in the future have like we will be missing some knowledge because of our lack of attention. So I think there are also like, since we have not discovered the appliances positively, but we have not discovered also like the negative downsides. So I think like with time will tell us like what regulations should be applied to the use of AI. But I think like for now it's let's enjoy discovering it and exploiting it to its maximum capacity.
Okay. Because also, yeah, now that you mentioned that, I've been seeing around some posts on social media that also do reference that kind of use of artificial intelligence, like people using it on exams. I've seen mostly like memes of people posting like, oh, you do not want to have your doctor like in the future take care of yourselves because your future doctor might have this ChatGPT and you don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that. Now that you mention it, that's like an actual fact that's happening on modern day society that could impact our future in some sense. So, yeah, so it's basically that. Like it's just it's use, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now continuing, David, if you'd like to expand on what other uses do you see on artificial intelligence on their implementation? What would happen in some cases? Like I've also seen around if they connect like in these artificial intelligences to internet, to the web.
Well, there are many implications, but first I would want to add something, and it is that, well, many people are concerned about like the loss of jobs with AI, but the thing is, it's not really like such an alarming concern because, well, there's ways to avoid this. Like, for example, with the Industrial Revolution, there were like machines that could do the work of many workers, and so like they lost many of those people. Those jobs were actually dangerous. Like, for example, here in Monterrey, there was Fundidora,
Yes.
and many people died in there because, well, it was very dangerous. And with like the applications of robotics and AI, like those jobs could be automated and done by robots instead of people. And so, well, first of all, there's like a safety concern that's being treated there, and also like it is better to have like a skilled jobs, so that like it is better to study in school, like get an engineering degree and then work like creating these robots instead of just waiting to have like a manual labor, which is often risky and dangerous for the body. But well, as in the applications and what happens with like internet and those things, like there's also like that's more like an engineering challenge because, well, it is like you can look back at the time when we first implemented like internet into our things, like not just computers, but like we could say like locks and like, well, we could say like about IoT. Well, so with this thing, you make more things digital, and so they're more like they're at a risk of being hacked or even like jammed or whatever. Like there are many ways you can attack these, but also like there are many ways to defend, and that's a whole field of cybersecurity. So there is.
That's a really good point. Now that you add that up, since you mentioned in old times, older times, most of the works, like most of the available jobs were way too dangerous for human beings. Because their accidents could happen, and also the healthcare in those times wasn't so advanced as it is right now. So more things could happen in that era. But yeah, now that you mention it, that's a really good point. And continuing on, Porfirio, now like, how would you also argument this part of like, now that David has mentioned it, that artificial intelligence can also be hacked and also like misused by that sense?
Well, here I will say more like a fact that in a recent Q&A, they questioned Yuval Noah Harari and other authors that acknowledge the benefits that artificial intelligence could bring to humanity. Like, I don't know, that they have the potential to help us beat cancer and energy crisis. But they think that if artificial intelligence dominates our language perfectly, they could literally hack and manipulate the operating system of our civilization. And something more that I found, it was that right now there's an open letter that has been signed by more than 1,000 people, including businessman Elon Musk, Apple co-founder, and some others. And what it says, it's an out-of-control race to develop and implement increasingly powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can reliably understand, predict, or control. And even the creators right now of like ChatGPT, they don't know what could happen in the future if they try to, I don't know, include internet to it, because it could learn more from our world and not just by the what OpenAI, which is the creator of them, tries to implement. Well, the information that tries to implement to ChatGPT.
Yeah, so that could have infinite possibilities, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's not like a certain future. If you
No.
do that, like anything could happen really.
Yes, anything will happen.
Okay. And also to add up to this, Eduardo, so again with like since you do focus on protecting workers, and adding up to that, like how would you feel that implementing the web, connecting AIs to the web, how do you think would that impact the workers?
It will definitely impact it because then the employers would use it as an advantage to just manipulate the employees in a way that they have even more control than they have now. And the problem is that, as he said, well, the jobs used to be more dangerous, but the problem right now is that most of the jobs that can be replaced by machines in that time were dangerous jobs, were labor jobs. But now with the AI, we can replace digital work, and that is labor that is not dangerous. And the problem with that is that, let's say we replace the jobs in fabrics because we are automating it. And let's say, okay, let the workers just learn a new skill and let's have an engineering degree. Why are they working in a factory in the first place? Because they have the opportunities limited to work there. They don't have the opportunities open to have an engineer's degree, because if they had it, then they would have an engineering degree. They wouldn't be working at a factory. The problem with AI is that it's a tool that can be used in an utopical society. And the problem is that we do not live in an utopical society. We can get close to it and have the use of artificial intelligence in a more ethical way, like have regulations. But right now, the people are not having discussions about how is this going to affect in the modern world, because we are not solving the problems that we need to solve before we have the responsibility to be able to use these kind of tools. Because right now the writers of many shows are in a strike because their jobs are being replaced. Most artists are also in a strike because their jobs are trying to be replaced. And that is the problem with this kind of stuff, because those jobs are not dangerous. Those jobs are just merely creative jobs, and even creative jobs are in danger. And the problem is not the fact that the technology exists, because technology is going to exist anyway. People are going to innovate every day, and that is just the way the world works. But the way we give that technology without any cautious of how people are going to use it is a problem, because then the employers have all the power in the world to just say, okay, I don't need you, so why would I need to pay you? And that is something that shouldn't be a problem, but in society we know that the people with power, with economic power, just don't give two thoughts about the people that they employ.
Yeah, they don't actually think about the workers. Also, yeah, because now that you also, like I've also been seeing about artists like on online media that do say like that AI is also like has been impacting their jobs, because many people, because what I've been seeing mostly on online are artists that you can like commission, you can, for them to make you like an artistic piece of a character or anything really. And what I've been seeing around, like the main argument I've been seeing thrown around a lot in online, like on that aspect, is that basically they've stopped commissioning many artists just to use these AIs that can automatically generate your like pictures, and also they can be texts, and that also does impact. I've seen mainly impacting the creative area, like how you mentioned it, and also like most of these creative jobs do come in, like do start as a hobby, right, and then they slowly transition into like actual work, since they've been seeing like they can make an income out of it, right? Yeah. So also that's another like good like positionment on this side, on this argument. And as to continue up to another side of this, to add up to about workers' rights and all of that, how would you think, like, since you also say that artificial intelligences are not explored that much, there's also a lot of improvement area. So to get to like a point where artificial intelligence can be an actually good implementation in society, what do you think would be some good regulations on artificial intelligence to sort of prevent this type of issues happening of people losing their jobs?
Well, as for regulations, I can't think of that much, but I would like to bring up a thing I saw. I learned that there's a program that's called ChatGPT Zero, which is used to identify pieces of text, mainly from ChatGPT, to identify if they have been written by an artificial intelligence, because there are like the syntax and the syntax in the entirety of the word is really common for an AI to have certain like grammatical stiffness to say something, because we used to talk like in a really like informal way. So what AI does is to talk to you in a really respectful or formal way. So that syntax can be identified by this program, and it can determine if it's written by AI or if it's similar to a construction from an AI, and it gives us an alert. So I have seen the implementation of those kinds of software in schools. I think like the graduate that developed that program is from Michigan. So in Michigan University, they started using that program to identify if alumni were using ChatGPT or another artificial intelligence to write essays and text.
And to do their works.
Yes. So I think like maybe not to implement. I think like the point is not to start regulating and censoring and eliminating and preventing. I think we can learn like develop a new set of moral and values, which we learn in which we learn like where is it correct and where, and to understand and know that the damage that it provokes is not to other people but to ourselves. So if I as for example a student start using ChatGPT, I will have to learn that artificial intelligence is not in the wrong. I am in the wrong for changing, for substituting my like the learning I have, from substituting from school to AI. So I think like we have to learn and improve a lot as a society, not in the way of eliminating things, but to change ourselves, to adapt to things that will come in the future. I think like AI is it's only the first step to our evolution. So I think we should start evolving as well in understanding like the things we have to do to adapt, because that from here on there's only gonna be more. Like we are not losing AI, we're not losing internet, so we should start learning to adapt with it.
Yeah, to use it in a proper way.
Yes.
Since also now that you mentioned that society does need to, since in the past, like across history of humanity, humans have, like society has to adapt to new implementations. Like on the industrial revolution, they had to adapt to these new mechanisms that were created, that vapor motor and things like that. And also on the modern era with technology, everyone had like society has adapted in such a way that they're able to use more to implement technologies like computers, laptops, and like in general to implement their use on their jobs to simplify things or make tasks more easier in some sense. But yeah, like I also do feel that society has to adapt to these new AIs, like not regulate them, not like limit their use, but just adapt in a way that allows them to use them properly without like causing much trouble or damage to human society as well. And but yeah, so continuing up, thanks for your point of view. So Javier, as a consumer,
Yes.
again, so with all that's been spoken, sort of like close up the
Mhm.
roundtable as so
What do I think?
what do you think?
Between the debate that David and Eduardo said, I believe that there has to be a limit to what should be replaced by workers by AI. Let's say, like David said, the fundadoras, where people may die. I believe there has to be robotics there because we cannot just oversimplify deaths because it's an accident. That's why there has to be a limit where there is more risk, there should be AI. Where there is less risk, there should be AI, but helping the people, not replacing them. That's what I believe. And what Fernando said, I believe that he is right. We cannot let people use AI. I do not mean to say like we should oversynthesize. We do not need to destroy AI. That is something we do not need to do. What I want to say is like fighting fire with fire. Let's say they have an AI for essays, and he said we can make an AI to detect words that ChatGPT AI can say, so we can contrast and say you did it with an AI. You cannot have it's a zero. There should be something to counter the AI that makes the essays, so people know that they are not doing it. It's made by an AI. That's what I believe.
Yeah, so we can like actually have a good education process, right? Not an education that's damaged by not paying attention and just depending on artificial intelligences to do your works, your homeworks, your projects and tests, right?
I believe yes. That's what I believe. I also believe that AI can help us in a lot of ways. By let's say I don't know where to search for information about something. Let's say about other AIs. Let's say. So I asked the ChatGPT, can you give me information about this? So I see the information, I learn it, and then like say, oh, so this is what, and I paraphrase the information that I have with what I believe that is most important, so that people understand how to see the lines between the information that are important and what's not. That's also what I believe.
Okay, and to conclude things, to reach this to a conclusion, how would all the things that have been said affect your use of modern day artificial intelligences or even the future versions of it? How would it modify your consumption of this type of technology?
Well, let's say I was a student. It will make it less, I would use it less with what I said about fighting with an AI with another. I would use it less to, let's say, give me answers, and use it more to find information and knowing what I should need to do and learning about it. And
like an
investigation, but made by an AI, and you conclude it and say I learned this and that. Let's say that. And I, as a person that isn't a student or a professor, just a bystander outside, I would use it more to learn. If I just thought of something that was interesting, I would say like, what was the first jetpack or rocket that was sent to space? I will search it by AI and say, it would say it was this one, and it would show me a photo, let's say. So I would say, oh, so that's the answer. So I don't have to search it all and find fallacies or misleading information that I cannot trust.
Yeah, that's also another. Now you add that though, that's another actual thing to avoid miscommunication. How do I say? To avoid miscommunicating like the ideas or actually like falling into fake news. Since I do see like on recent eras, fake news has just been on an increase. There's
Yeah.
been more made.
Since the internet was created and Facebook and all these ways that information can go up and outside, people have been making lies and selling deceits to the people, and the people misunderstand and think something with that misleading fact. That's why I believe AI should be made to say only the truth.
Yeah.
Like there should be 3 laws about AIs. Like the first one was a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. This law is very interesting and very true because we are, let's say, creators, so we should not be harmed by them. But I believe we should not harm them, even though they do not have anything. They can think by themselves, so it should be something we should not cross.
Yeah, a line we shouldn't cross.
A line. There's always lines that we shouldn't cross between things that are good and wrong. So that's just by defining that line and seeing what should be done and not.
Okay. So yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for that perspective, that point of view. And with this, we conclude this roundtable. How long do we?
Go on.
So with this, we conclude our roundtable, and I hope everyone learned something from each other's perspectives, and also on the uses of AI, future uses, and also a little bit of history of human nature, of human society, and how it's been developed to adapt to these new technologies, and in this case scenario, the artificial intelligence as a thing. So with this, we finish and hope everyone has a nice day and good luck on your works.
Thank you.
Muy bien.
Ya para el celular.
Ah, sacaste audio.